Hey Reddit.
What's a really awkward situation that everyone can relate with?
Like and subscribe and we'll make more videos. Share your awkward situation in the comments.
When you start to tell a story in a group but in middle of sentence realize that no one is actually listening and ever so slowly you get quiet and hope no one took notice.
When they don't realize that you were getting quiet. At first you think good. Nobody noticed. But seconds later you start to feel bad that nobody was really paying attention to you. Not even hearing that you were making noises, and that feels awful.
Whenever I notice that happening, I specifically look the person telling the story in the eyes like, it's fine, just pretend you were only telling the story to me all along.
When you've had multiple interactions with someone but you can't remember their name, but it's gone too far to admit you've forgotten it, so you just have to call them love or mate forever.
I have a trick for this. Start being more loving to them. Eventually getting into relationship. As this moves further, propose and they'll say yes. And then when you're getting married, wait till the pastor turns and says, "And will you person's name marry your name?" And boom, you now know their name.
I met this guy in my math class at the beginning of the semester and I never caught his name. We became friends and now it's the end of the semester and I still don't know his name. Not sure how to ask.
Standing there while two people talk about something you don't know about.
Even worse when you're wanting to leave the conversation but feel like you need to have an excuse to leave.
Also standing there while people talk about something you do know about but you don't really get a chance to get involved. You have things you want to share but you're not sure if you could.
When you try to contribute to a conversation and someone cuts you off multiple times.
And you patiently wait for your turn to speak even though it already was, but by the time the air is clear, the subject has already changed and what you were going to say is now irrelevant.
Yes. Or repeat something like a joke you said which nobody heard and everyone chimes in with laughter and/or agreement.
Saying hello or how are you to somebody and getting 100% ignored.
Worse when someone else you know is there too and notices you getting ignored.
When you're having a conversation with someone and you don't hear what they say, so you ask them to repeat and they do. But you still don't hear it and ask them to repeat again and they do. And you still don't know what they said. Do you ask them to repeat again and maybe still not hear it? Pretend you heard it and nod your head and hope it's an appropriate response. Stab yourself in the eye with a pen to create a diversion and change the subject.
Just laugh. Say, yeah, and hope they didn't just tell you their dad just died.
Literally the worst thing that can ever happen to a human being.
When you're walking past coworker and you've already said hello earlier. Everyone's making that weird flat smile.
That walk down a long hallway toward each other where you've clearly seen the other person. But they're too far away to say something. So you do the awkward look around until you get close enough to say, hey, and keep walking.
Even worse, when a coworker spots you in a store and starts talking to you. But you don't recognize who they are because you're not used to seeing them outside of work. You don't want to ask them who they are because then you'd look like a fool, so you need to pretend to know who they are during the entire conversation.
When you're finishing up at the checkout and the cashier puts the notes on top of the receipt and then coins on top of that. Then the next person steps up and you're fumbling, trying to disassemble the stack in your hand. Gather your shopping, say thanks and move away at the same time.
In the UK, it's extra sucky because you bag your groceries yourself. If you aren't quick enough, you have to do all of what you mentioned as well as quickly finish the packing while everyone stares at you waiting for you to hurry.
When I was a cashier, I made it a point to hand them their coin. Wait. Hand them their currency. And unless requested otherwise, I would put the receipt in the bag for this very reason.
Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's mother starts yelling at your friend. Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's father walks in only wearing underwear.
The opposite as well, having a friend over and your parents do this.
Being at a friend's house as an adult and they and their partner have an argument.
That awkward moment where you and somebody else try to let each other speak but you both try speak at the same time and just keep failing.
That would be a Skype Teams moment. It's happened to us countless times. Especially since we're all now working from home.
You mean McMurray and Wayne?
When you think someone waves at you so you wave back. But they were waving at someone behind you.
Not long ago at church we were asked to turn and greet people. I turned around and the guy said hi to me and stuck his hand out to shake. I went for it and realized he was talking to the woman beside me. She and I both ended up with a hand in his hand at the same time trying to shake it. They both looked at me and I quickly turned around and pretended it didn't happen. Which made it more awkward. And then rest of the service I couldn't stop laughing about it. This is standard for me.
Just pretend you wave at someone behind them. Then the person behind them would wave back at you. But you should pretend to wave at the person behind them. And so on and so forth. Until everyone is uncomfortable and just go home.